Hello, I'm Peter Von Essen from Kootenai Extreme Hunting Adventures. Today we're going to go over how to field dress a mule deer. This goes for whitetail as well. It's not the only way to do it, it's just my way. So I'll show you what's going on here. Okay. First thing I like to do is I like to make an incision right here on the hard part. And then I can go in with my gut blade, and I usually go in the direction from head to tail, and you get a lot less hair on your knife when you're doing it that way. You don't want to go too deep into the guts there. It can be a really nasty smell once you do that. You just make my incision with this blade here. Really like this knife. When I flip it, I've got a nice little gut hook on there, nice little round end. Really helps on not piercing the stomach at all. A little deeper here. Careful, you can see the stomach's right here. You don't want to pierce that. And then, where we're from in Canada, we have to leave proof of sex, so we'll cut around the penis here. We'll skin that out and leave that attached to the body. You can see I'm pressing down on the stomach and other organs with my hand, creating a space for my knife to get in to cut the hide. Take your time doing this. It's not a race. The last thing you want to do is cut the guts and your fingers as well. If this were a doe, you could just cut right through the middle of the mammary glands. There'll be mammary glands on both sides for a CO to come along and identify if need be. Once we get to that part there, we're going to work our way down there. We're going to cut out the butthole. And we're going to work on that pelvis. And all we're going to do here is just go on the outside here. You'll feel yourself going around the cavity. Get that done, then I'll finish this up here. Just gently coming along in here. We're cutting between the legs here, trying to expose the pelvis. Just cut in a nice straight line. Try to keep it as clean as possible. These are where some of your best steaks come from, off the hindquarters. Just cutting away the rest of the penis here, just to get it out of the way and keep everything else nice and clean for when we pull out the rest of the guts. These Gerber saws here, they're awesome. You can get them in bigger sizes for elk and moose. I really like this for just getting through that pelvis and everything.
Even though the Gerber saw has a nice round end that usually helps prevent cutting any internal organs, I still like to be on the safe side and slip my fingers in between the pelvis and the gallbladder just to make sure I don't cut it.
You just got to watch for the bladder and stuff. That's what I'm putting my fingers down here for. Round end usually keeps it from cutting into it, but better to be safe than sorry. So just peel through, just put a little pressure, break that off, and then we'll go back to the top here a little bit. What I'll generally do is once I slice it down the neck here, I'll just skin it just a little bit on each side. Just do it slow and careful. You don't want to nick yourself. The reason I do this just makes it a little easier for when you're pulling the esophagus out. All the hair kind of stays away from the body. A little less cleanup at the end. Again, I'll get my Gerber saw here. Just watch that stomach there. And same thing as what you did at the pelvis. We're going to come right up the middle of the rib cage here. And you're not sitting in there and cutting blindly with your hands in there. You can just open up the chest cavity and yard everything out at once. So you can kind of open everything up and start to trim away some of this lining here. Get that esophagus and open the neck up here a bit. Just you can see right here, there's the esophagus, so just cut right along the edge of that. Once you get a hold of that esophagus, you can generally just put some tension on it and pull it. And just start trimming everything as it's coming out. Thank you.
You'll see I end up pulling the esophagus right off. It's actually the first time it's ever happened to me, but it just shows you that not everything always goes as planned. Not a big deal. Just do a little more trimming around where the diaphragm is, along the bottom there where it attaches to the back. And then just roll the stomach and the rest of the contents out. Eventually you can just pull on everything and it'll tear right away.
You just have to trim around this diaphragm here a bit. Once you get enough of it out, it'll all flop out. It wants to be stubborn. See, it just hangs up a little bit, so be careful and just trim away those your tenderloins. Don't want to wreck those. That's the bladder there. You don't want to pop that. Just like that, everything's out.